Hey, today I want to talk about a fake book. Now, a lot of you are hip to fake books, right? I guess. I'm assuming. That's all I can do. So I'm assuming that you're hip to what a fake book is, but a lot of you are not hip to what a fake book is, and I'm speaking to you, right? What is this word fake book? So when a bunch of Berkeley students, and I think there's some teachers involved too, back in the dinosaur era of the 70s or so, uh, they um, they wrote this book called The Real Book, and that real book was illegal at the time because it didn't have any copyrights. It's no longer illegal. I mean, actually, I bought my first real book by sort of talking to a local music store owner in Vancouver and sort of, wink, wink, nod, nod, $50, there's my real book. Man, I felt like I just scored big time. And there was only one music store in town that sold the real book because, it was bad. It was illegal. But it's no longer illegal. Most of the copyrights for the great jazz standards have been picked up. Um, if you want to do jazz standards, if you want to play jazz standards, if you want to play jazz standards with this upright bass player, or an upright bass player and a kit, a drum kit, or an upright bass player and a sax player, or a trumpet player, or whatever, in small formats, especially, you need a real book, right? And because most guys are going to be playing tunes out of the real book in the keys that are in the real book, using changes that are pretty close to the real book. And so what you need to do is get a real book and learn how to read a chart. All right. So there it is. You can get it even on Amazon, right? The real book. That's sixth edition. I think that's the latest one. And here is a real book chart. Now, why do real book charts? Why are they sort of good? Well, because first of all, most of the time the chords are right, like by far most of the time. Of course, there's always going to be chord alterations. Some people will play, different, slightly different chords, but they're still, foundationally, they're going to be the same chords that we have in the real book. Now, I just want to explain a chart like this a little bit for the guitar player. For the guitar player, if you're just by yourself, right? You're playing in your bedroom, and you're wanting to learn, you're wanting to learn how to comp, right? You can do that by following the chords that are here in the book, right? And now, if but obviously that doesn't give you all the elements of music. What that gives you is a rhythm, hopefully, and it'll give you harmony, right? Like you'll have the notes in the chords. Now, let's say you want to add a bass player to your awesome comping. Does the bass player need to have his own bass chart? No, the bass player does not need to have his own bass chart because the strings of the bass are the same as the bottom four strings of the guitar, right? And let's just talk about, no, let's talk about upright bass, acoustic bass, right? Stand up bass. And so the bass player, if he's never played Satin Doll before, and you've been playing, working on it like a madman, and he wants to play this along with you, all he has to do is follow the chart, right? I mean, if he'll know when he's looking at this, as a guitar player should know as well, is that a D minor seven chord is D, F, A, and C, and a G7 chord is G, B, D, and F, and an E minor seven chord is E, G, B, D, and an A7 chord is A, C sharp, E and G, and so on, right? And so at the very least, he's going to be able to define some bass lines just by looking only at this chart. Now there's two of you, isn't that cool? So you've got rhythm guitar and you've got a bass player. But what you're missing, what are you missing? You're not missing an instrument, really. What you're missing is the melody, right? The melody. And when you have the melody and when you have the rhythm and when you have the harmony, you've got music starting to happen, right? And so the question is, where are you going to get that melody from? Well, let's say you add a horn player. So you've got an alto player, and that alto player is going to play through the melody. You're comping the chords. The bass player is laying down a bass line. You've got a nice little trio that's happening, especially if everybody is playing the right notes and you're all in the same time, right? If you want to fill that out and make it a bit of a quartet, what you do is add a drummer, right? And hope that he listens and stick the bass player and the drummer beside each other and tell them to listen to each other, and then you've got a nice little quartet happening, right? Because you've got all the elements there: rhythm, melody, harmony, and the form of this tune. Now, if you're sitting in your bedroom or your living room, if you haven't been kicked out of it by now, and you are wanting to have sort of a representation of the melody, then what you're going to have to do as a guitar player, if you want to play in a trio format, get rid of the alto player so you can, split the money three ways. Just kidding. I'm not expecting any alto players to show up. But, if you want to do that, there's a heck of a lot more work to be involved, right? Because now the guitar player has to play the melody and the chords at the same time. Apologies for not having a real my jazz box in my hand, but I try to use this guitar because it reads the fretboard, and it's easier for everyone. So this sounds a little not a great jazz sound, but good enough. So yeah. So now we've got a trio, right? Because the alto player quit in frustration, and so now I have to learn all of these tunes with the melody and the chords, and I've still got my bass player. He's still there because he didn't like the alto player, and the drummer is still there because, well, he's a drummer. So now. We've got a nice little trio, but the guitar player has to do a heck of a lot more work. Listen to some guitar players who are playing in trio situations, like the great ones, like Joe Pass, like Wes Montgomery, like Tal Farlow, like Lenny Bro. You can go Herb Ellis. Listen to those guys that are playing the chords and the melody at the same time. Respect that skill because it ain't an easy one. A lot of guys can play 100-mile-an-hour single note lines, but when it comes to establishing a bass line, a harmony, and a melody, that's a whole other ball game for the guitar player. So ask yourself, what do you want to do? Do you want to sit and learn how to play chord melodies because they take a lot longer, but that's good. I mean, if you're willing to put in that amount of time, then do. Go out and get a real book and let's get going. If you just want to comp, find yourself a melody player or a singer, and then you can do the comping, and the singer can do the melody, right? In that case, I would advise the Real Vocal Book, and the Real Vocal Book will give you the vocal lines as well as the lyric as well as the melody line. There's actually lyric to this tune here, but being that it's not the vocal book, it doesn't show that. Okay, so real book, yeah, get one of those. Decide where you want to put the major portion of your work. If you can't comp great yet, if you have to get to the point where you should be able to comp from the beginning of the tune to the end of the tune, right? Cleanly with a metronome. Don't start putting on backing tracks and drum programs and bunch of gobbledygook. Click, 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 click. Fine. That's all. That's all you need, and that'll make you enjoy a drummer even that much more when you play with a good one. Yeah, and then just comp through the chords and with a nice, and keep the melody in mind even when you're comping. Keep the melody in mind. Sing it in your head, and then finally, if you want to learn the melody, you're going to have to pick up the melody. I'm reading it where it's written. And now, if you want to play the solo style with putting the melody on top, you're going to have to take that melody and take it up an octave. And that's the way you would learn it. I think I've told the story before, but I had a student who was from Japan, and he came to me in our first lesson. I was just trying to get a vibe of where he was at, and I said, well, play something for me, and lo and behold, he did, and he sort of blew my mind. I thought, well, man, this guy's amazing. These are beautiful lines, and this is, this is really, really a great player. This guy could be amazing. And so I said, why are you coming to me? Could you show me some of these lines? They're wonderful. And he said, oh, no, I can't. I said, well, why? You just played them for me. Well, this is the only song I know. I learned it from tablature and he said it took him like about 6 months to learn it, right? But he didn't have a clue what he was doing, right? And so, I had him as a student for, I think, at least a year, or maybe longer before he went back. Um, you don't want to be in that situation, right? The real book won't put you in that situation. The real book will say, this is the melody, these are the chords, this is the key, find yourself a bass player, learn how to comp, and so on. Getting voicings of these chords, you could get you can get all these chords and nice chord voicings, simple straight ahead chord voicings in my book, which is called Essentials for the Improvising Guitar Player. You can get that under My Guitar Pal on Amazon, and it'll at least give you all of these very common position, sort of jazzy or movable chord forms. It'll also give you the arpeggios for those chord forms. So that's it for today. I'm just trying to explain the real book, explain the processes, explain how we can learn, and how you can improve, and how you can enjoy the process. Okay, that's it for today. Go out and get a real book, and leave me a comment. I really appreciate comments. I need to know that there are human beings out there that are listening and care. If not, then I can always go for a walk or something, and sit around and play guitar. And also, yeah, leave would be good, and subscribe if you want notifications of further videos. So that's about it. I hope this was a help to you. I hope this sort of opens a couple of doors for some of you out there in the world somewhere. And nice to meet you. And we'll see you again real soon.